Thank you, Senators. Can you hear me okay? My name is George Karenbauer, and I'm here on my own behalf as a citizen of the 2nd Congressional District, the 8th and 17th Senatorial Districts, and the 30th Delegate District. I want to thank you very much for holding these hearings. This is exactly what the legislature should be doing. I have been going around the state a little bit earlier this year and met with a couple of community groups just from my perspective on how redistricting should be done. And what you're doing is exactly what should be done. Hearing from the public. Redistricting is to be done for the benefit of the public, not for the members of the legislature. And I applaud you for what you're doing, for listening to the public. Unfortunately, the House is not going to have these public hearings. And you do have the opportunity. You will vote on the redistricting of both the Senate and the House. So because the House is not holding these hearings, I would encourage you to do a couple things that you're not doing. And the principal one is to listen, and listen very carefully, to the comments that you're getting about the structure of the House of Delegates, because you will vote on that bill. And secondly, expand the blog that you have. You have a nice blog in which you have the opportunity for people in each of the 3 congressional districts and in each of the 17 senatorial districts to comment. You have them all divided. So if I'm in Senatorial District 4, I can comment on that. If I'm in 2nd Congressional District, I can comment on that. I would encourage you, because the House is not holding parallel hearings, to expand that so that people can present their comments, at least in a public way, from anywhere in the state, on each of the 100, well, there's 50-some House districts representing 100 members of the House. I do have a couple of thoughts on each one of the component parts of what you're doing. First, on the congressional district. I didn't bring with me, but I just forgot to bring with me a map quest that I did. I'm in the senatorial district, so I took and thought, how long does it take you to go from Buffalo in Putnam County to Charleston? And it takes over 6 hours, and it's 350-some miles. And considering that you're looking at a map and starting afresh, and by the way, you don't look at the map from the perspective of how do we benefit the incumbents, but just looking at it afresh, you can say you can certainly make a more compact couple of congressional districts than what we have right now, where people have to drive that far. They're so disconnected, and I know Senator Unger, I come from the northern Panhandle. I know what it feels like to be sort of a little bit outside, and when you're 350 miles away from where the real power is, it's a little unsettling. So I think that map can be configured more compact. Secondly, on the senatorial district, I'm in the 8th and 17th, and what Mr. Krauser said, I sort of agree with in a way. And that is that everybody in the state should be treated the same. So however you construct the districts. So with senatorial districts, the only anomaly is here in Kanawha County, where we have an overlap. And one thing, I grew up in Wheeling, and I always went to Charleston a little bit odd, and I still feel, even though I benefit sometimes from some of the things in Charleston, that it's really not fair. I shouldn't be in a position now. I live on Brittany Woods Road here in Charleston, in South Hills, and I can have 7 delegates live on my street, and I can have 4 state senators live on my street. And that, if I lived in Wheeling, I would be able to not say that. I'd be able to have 1 or 2 delegates, I think, depending on where I am, and a state senator. It should all be the same everywhere for everybody. Everybody should have the same kind of representation. With respect to the House, so I do want to say with the 8th and the 17th, because of the loss of population, you're probably going to have to add a county in some way. And rather than adding a county and come up with 218,000 people by adding another county and having 2 overlapping districts, I would encourage you instead to divide the county so that there's one district with 2 people, and then the remaining part of the county, add to it something that's like-minded. So if you take the western part of the county, add a county like Putnam County, or if you're going to take if you need to add a county and it's from the Montgomery area, that you add a county that's like-minded, so that the people who live in those 2 districts when they're divided come from a similar perspective. With respect to single-member districts, or the multi-delegate districts that we have. We have a hodgepodge. We have all kinds of things. We have single-member districts, two-member districts, three-member districts, four-member districts, five-member districts, and seven-member districts. That is extremely unusual. 40 states have only single-member districts. And there are only 3 states in which there are more than 2 people in a district. And in West Virginia, and in no other state, is there more than 3% of the lower house in any district. In West Virginia, we have 3 districts that have 4%. We have a district that has 5%. And we have a district that has 7%. So we're really out of touch with respect to, in relation to the rest of the country. And also the movement away from multi-delegate districts is profound. And with every 10-year period, fewer and fewer states have multi-delegate districts. And so it's down to really, there's only 3 that are anything like us. My sister is in the New Hampshire legislature. And I will offer a little bit of an excuse why New Hampshire can have so many. New Hampshire has 400 members in its House, and each member represents 2,500 people. So I think you can understand why it would be more difficult for them to go to single-member districts than in West Virginia, where we have 18,500 people per day. In the 30th district here, you've heard from some people in outlying areas. I am more than happy, living in South Wales, to have somebody from the Montgomery area or East Bank to be able to have a delegate that identifies with their interests. So as you go, whether you go to single-member districts or you reduce the number of persons per district, I think it is fair to move in that direction. And that concept is gaining support from Governor Manchin shortly before he left for Washington, so that he supports the concept of single-member House districts. I am a former state party Democratic chairman, and I want to offer the perspective that I think in the past you could have said that multi-delegate districts would necessarily benefit, in some areas, Democrats. That is changing quickly. 20 years ago, about the time that I was party chairman, or when I was advocating the election of President Clinton, 2 out of 3 West Virginians was registered as a Democrat. Today, that's 54%. Straight party ticket voting is changing rapidly too. In the special election we had last year, 56% of the straight party tickets votes were Democrat and 44% were Republican. I think with President Obama had a ticket, and I like President Obama a lot, but I read the polls. I think you're going to see a lot of ticket splitting in every presidential year, and you're likely to see more straight party Republican voting than Democratic voting. So the argument that somehow or another it is necessarily to the Democrats' advantage to have multi-delegate districts, I think is an anachronistic view. And so I think we should view it outside of our politics. We don't know what's going to happen with party registration. We don't know what's going to happen over the next 10 years. So just look at it purely from a civics perspective. And finally, looking toward the future, there are 22 states that really take districting out of the hands of the legislature. In a way, it's analogous to legislative pay, because there's a lot of self-interest when legislators go to redistrict. And there really is no philosophical reason to say the Senate has no role to play with the House, and the House has no role to play with the Senate. There's no philosophical reason for that. But the better approach is to have greater citizen involvement. So in 22 states, there is some kind of a commission established by which there is greater citizen participation and less legislative incumbent involvement. And I'm not suggesting that happen this year because it's too late, but that as you go forward, and when you come together as a legislator after all this is done, set in motion something so that for 10 years from now, there is a more dispassionate view at redistricting than there is right now. And finally, I would say, while you're also taking the long view, you might, and this is the long view, this is not for this immediate districting, but I don't want you to be in the position that you're redistricting and just leave and we address it again 10 years from now. And that would be to do something that makes a little more geographic sense. There are some states in which they have senatorial districts, and then they have more delegates than they have senators, but they put the number of the delegates inside the senatorial district. So, for example, if you had 33 senatorial districts and 99 delegates, you'd be able to have 3 delegates in the same geography as each senatorial district, and that would give people a closer identity with their legislature. Thanks for